Part 2. Check me out. Hey y'all, so I am back today with a follow-up video from the one that I posted yesterday in regards to me having sickle cell. I received a lot of feedback. Some things were not really clear. A lot of people wanted me to go into more detail, questions about why I didn't want to go into talk about feeling guilty about certain things. So today I'm here to just lay it all out for you, and if you have more questions, don't hesitate to ask. So first, I want to talk about my pain, or being ashamed of having sickle cell. When you're in pain, it's like sometimes it's just like a lot of needles or a lot of knives just continuously stabbing you into your arms. And when I tell you it's excruciating. Like, I received a call from my mother-in-law. She was like, "Is it equivalent to contractions or anything?" It's not even that type of pain. It's just like a hurtful pain in your joints. And your joints is like your elbows, it could be your wrists, your finger joints, your knees, your ankles, your toes. I've had crises before in like my face, where my face was just like one big cramp. That's exactly. It's like a stabbing cramp that just won't go away. And the only way that it would go away is as if it would subside on its own, and that's by getting oxygen, being hydrated, so the water or fluid can push through your veins. I've had, like, most recently, back in May, I've had pain. Last May, I've had a pain, but it wasn't a crisis pain. It was a nerve pain, which was very, very, very new. I've never experienced that before, having sickle cell. And when I went to the hospital, it was like, "Oh, I think I'm having a crisis." They did not admit me. So when I said I haven't had a crisis in 5 years, I haven't had a crisis where I had to have a hospital stay in 5 years. So this particular pain was in between the joints. So it was more like a bone pain. And morphine didn't work for that. Percocet didn't work for that. So when I actually went to the doctor to describe it to him, he prescribed naproxen and gabapentin, which naproxen is like a mild painkiller, I guess, and gabapentin they use for neurology or neurological things, or sciatica and things like that. But I don't take it all the time. I only had to take it that one time for that particular pain. And to be honest, like, the doctor he knew exactly what was going on. So I guess this is something that other sicklers, that's what they call them, sicklers, experience. It was my first time. And this is something that I feel guilty about because I don't get sick that often, like other sicklers do. When I was a kid, I think I said this in the last video, I used to get sick all the time. I mean, I couldn't get in the swimming pool. I couldn't really spend the night at anybody's house. I missed tons of days of school. I think my last year of high school, I was actually homeschooled. Well, not my last year, like summer. Did homeschool for summer school, because I couldn't actually attend summer school in an actual school building, so the teacher came to the house. But my biggest fear with getting sick was that I would get sick while I was away at college. So I started to change it up a little bit and do everything possible in my power to prevent me from getting sick while I was away from home. Maryland is not that far from New York. It's a 3.5, 4 hour drive, but nobody's taking 3.5, 4 hour drive to come and transmit me back and forth to the hospital because I'm being careless or reckless in school, not taking care of myself. So when I was in school, I was still taking Percocet or oxycodone, 5 milligrams every 6 hours as needed. So I always had my medicine handy. That was never an issue. But it was when the medicine didn't work. And there was a time I remember when I had really bad gas pain. This wasn't even a sickle cell pain, but being a sickler, I already have a high tolerance for things, and this would not go away, and then it triggered a actual sickle cell crisis. And I went to the hospital in Baltimore, and they refused to treat me. Like, they only wanted to give me Tylenol. They had me waited out. It was so bad, y'all. I'm talking about it was so bad. It was just like the doctors were saying that I was there just seeking drugs, and that's so embarrassing. Like, to be really sick and possibly on your deathbed and somebody think that you're just trying to get high and don't even want to help you. It was to the point where, like, my mom and dad had to come and sign me out the hospital, come all the way to Maryland, sign me out the hospital, drive me to New York to take me to a hospital here where I'm known. And by that time, I had to have 2 blood transfusions. 2 blood transfusions because being that my blood wasn't properly flowing through my veins, it wasn't producing enough either. And I developed my first crisis in my face. I think I was in ICU. It was really, really bad. And it was just like, how can somebody do that to, people that are in need? I mean, I look at, like, all these big causes. I'm not trying to knock them, like breast cancer or cystic fibrosis and multiple MS and lupus. And there's so much money being poured into research for these things. But sickle cell is always placed on a back burner. For one thing, it's predominantly African American or predominantly brown people that get sick, who most likely live in low income, poor neighborhoods, who are most likely subjected to the use of Medicaid or don't have any health insurance at all. So nobody cares. Like, literally nobody cares. Like, as a kid, pediatrician, pediatric hematologist, there are so many out there, and you have the best care from birth until 21. Once you turn 21, 9 times out of 10, an adult that has sickle cell do not see the doctor as often. They only go for emergency room visits because there's a limited amount of hematologists willing to treat them. There's a limited amount of resources. They're stigmatized. So some things I do feel, bad about and don't really want to talk about because it gets me in my feelings. And as you can see, you can hear my voice cracking because, like, sometimes I have like family members, right? And they have other illnesses. And they make it like a big thing. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sick, or I want to walk for this cause, and I want to do this, and I want to make this and donate here. And all the time in my head, I always think, well, dang, I've been diagnosed with sickle cell since birth. Like, my life expectancy was to the age of 30. But nobody want to donate for sickle cell. Nobody want to walk for sickle cell. Nobody want, nobody never even think about, well, dang, she really here or she really be going through it. Nobody. Like, why should I support your cause if you don't even support mine? But I don't say it. I'll go or I'll help. But I really do feel like we are a forgotten people, and it's not really fair because it's people that look like me most of the time. Okay, so I went on a rant about that, but getting back to like my story, yeah, I had to have like a blood transfusion. I probably was in a hospital for like a week on a morphine drip, high dose morphine drip. I mean, at one point they were just shooting it in my veins without it being connected to anything, just to be able to control the pain. Um, and once I got better, I had to be weaned off of it. So they had to give me low doses to go home with. And then once, that stopped working, then I started going through withdrawal. And when you go through withdrawal, I mean, it looked like a darn crackhead. I'm sweating, I'm scratching, I can't sleep, irritable, things like that. So they have to kind of wean you off. Um, until you don't need any type of medication anymore. So it's like it really is a whole process. And like, I think my mom said something about I didn't want people to come see me in the hospital or anything like that. When I was a kid, I loved having visitors. Like my uncle and my aunt would come and visit me. My Uncle Raymond, my Aunt Teresa would come and visit me, and she would bring like all these neon colored nail polishes, and she would sit there and polish my nails. I loved around holiday time when the hospital would have the Santa Claus come and bring us gifts and things like that. It made you feel special that people did care about you. I did enjoy that. I enjoyed the hospital school teacher. As I got older, they started having like the video games in there. My friends would come and see me and we would hang out. But when I became an adult, then I really started to feel like ashamed. And I guess because as I got older, the medicine, the drugs got stronger. So I wasn't like nodding out as a youth, in the hospital. I mean, until I had got my first like bit of Tylenol with codeine. But I didn't look at it like, as I was something like I was nodding. It was like, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. As an adult, it's like, no, I'm sitting here. You come to visit me, we having a whole conversation. I fall asleep in the middle of the conversation, wake up and start talking again. Like, that was so crazy. And I felt I was really, really embarrassed that I had to go through that, and I did not want anybody to see it, like anybody to see it. So I never, as an adult, I never really liked having visitors unless it was like my immediate family, like my mother, my brother, my sister, my husband, or not even my son, because he didn't really understand. He was only about 3, 4, or 5. The last time I was actually in the hospital. But yeah, I don't like having visitors because of that. I don't want anybody to see me at my lowest, weakest point. And for even like meeting my husband and getting him to understand what it was kind of hard in the beginning. But I took a chance. Like one day, we was talking and he blurted out, "Oh, I have this flaw." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I have sickle cell disease." And he was like, "What is that?" But once I explained it to him, I was like, "Okay, we not gonna be together long." But when I first got sick around him and he took care of me and he was there for everything, I was like, "Oh, I know this man really loved me," because I was sure enough expecting him to get scared and just to go away, never to be seen again. But he stuck it through. And he doesn't really like to see me get sick either. Like I think the hardest one for him was when we got married. We had like a wedding. We did a destination wedding cruise, and I had fun. And I think maybe I had a little bit too much to drink. And I went into a crisis, like a huge crisis, in the middle of nowhere on our way to Bermuda. And I had to spend about 2.5 days in the bottom of the boat in the hospital. I didn't want anybody to know I was there, and he was so bad that he cried because he thought that I was not going to be able to make it down the aisle for our wedding. I made it down the aisle, but I really did not get to enjoy my wedding like I thought I would, or my reception like I thought I would. And it's like you plan for something your whole life, but God has a way of telling you I'm in control. But I made it, so I try to do everything possible in my power so I don't get sick. I don't like being sick. I don't want my kids to see me sick. I don't like missing work, things like that. Yeah. So that's a tidbit about my hospitalizations and medicine. But one thing that I keep saying feel guilty about is that I don't get sick like others anymore. When you have sickle cell disease, like they're monitoring your hemoglobin levels. And so like the average person may have a hemoglobin level. Hemoglobin is your blood of like 11, 12, 13. My baseline prior to having children was at like 5, 6. So if I was to go to a doctor other than my doctor and they seen that my hemoglobin level was about a 5 or 6, they would be ready to give me a blood transfusion in a hurry. But that was my normal. That was my norm. When I first got pregnant with my oldest son, Cameron, as the baby's developing in your body, everything doubles. So my blood level doubled, which was awesome. And I had a smooth pregnancy where I didn't have morning sickness. I wasn't sick with sickle cell crisis. I mean, everything was flawless. Like I actually love being pregnant. I have not had any bad experience yet. But after I had him, I had fetal cells, and my hemoglobin has been a 8 as the baseline, which was better than 5, 6. Then when I had Mason, and then a year after I had Mason, I had Randy. Like I have a ton of fetal cells in my body, and I kind of feel like carrying up my babies was basically healing my body from the inside out. Where you could give me a blood test and it clearly shows I would test for sickle cell disease, but I don't carry all of the symptoms like your average sickler. I do experience fatigue. I do get tired. I take power naps when I can. I don't really drink like coffee or anything like that. I eat a lot of like leafy greens, like collard greens. I love collard greens. I love spinach. I eat a lot of vegetables. I drink a lot of water. I eat red meat. I do eat pork. I eat chicken, fish, all of that. I just do a lot of stuff in moderation. But I really do thank God for my kids because they have drastically changed my life. But also medically, they change whatever's going on inside of me. And I told my doctor, I was just like, me having sickle beta thal, like I'm supposed to be like sick all the time, and he just basically said, just continue thanking God that you're not. And that's all I can do. So I know I'm telling my story, and this is my story, but I don't want someone else who has sickle cell disease to look at it and feel some type of way because I am not like them. I will have sickle cell for the rest of my life, and things can change overnight. This is as of today. Tomorrow could be a totally different story. I do experience aches and pains, especially during the weather change, like from hot to cold or cold to hot, or when it's like when it's really damp outside, I do experience aches and pains. But those things I'm able to control at home with just a pill. It's not, that's not something worthy of going to the emergency room for. Um, I would have more kids if I had bigger space to put them, because they are making me better inside. But I still do almost 4 years later from Mason, or 8 years later, 10 years later from Cameron, I still do have a lot of fetal cells still floating around in there helping me out. So that, I wouldn't change, but I do support the cause all the time. I do give guidance and advice to people that have sickle cell disease, or somebody that might just see their story on Instagram or Facebook. Like, I may not be going through what you're going through, but I do feel your pain. I share that same pain with you. There are treatments to cure it, like the bone marrow transplant, things like that. I think that is great and awesome, but I will not ever partake in any of it. I feel like if it's not broke, don't fix it. And a lot of times, something like a bone marrow transplant can be very, very hard on your body. Like going through chemotherapy being the worst part of your cancer treatment. Yeah, I'd rather not put my body through that much wear and tear to try to rid it of something that probably was supposed to be there in the first place. So that I won't ever do. But I do commend those that are brave enough to do it. I have too much to lose for something to go wrong at this point. If I had nothing to lose, maybe I would consider doing it. But as of right now, I wouldn't ever try any new and improved treatments for sickle cell, or to get rid of it, unless it's like a pain medication. Somehow what I'm taking right now needs to be stronger. Then that I don't mind. Like, I'm moving from 5 milligrams of oxycodone to 7.5 milligrams, something like that. I don't mind, because I know eventually it's going to stop working, and it's not going to work the same. But not any other type of treatment. No, I don't want to develop any missing limbs or my hair falling out. I'd rather just continue doing what I'm doing. So as far as, like, there are some people who go through a lot of surgeries or experience some type of organ failure with sickle cell disease. Like, you find that there's some people that may have, like, their spleen removed, things like that, or they might have, like, a catheter. I don't have any catheters. I've never had any catheters put in place. My veins are small and tiny. I don't know if you can see them. They used to look like I used to have track marks, but a lot of it's cleared up since I really haven't been hospitalized. My spleen is intact. The only surgery I ever had in my life was having my tonsils and adenoids removed, and that had nothing to do with sickle cell disease. Sometimes my eyes are a little yellow tinted, and that's when I probably feel myself getting sick, or feel myself being dehydrated. And I just start pounding on the water, drinking the water, and then and getting rest, a lot of rest, and then usually go away. But that's what worked for me. It may not work for everyone else. And trying not to overexert yourself. Those are things that I stick by, and it keeps me going. But there are people that are not fortunate to make it to 31, 32. There are people that are living daily with severe pain and are not able to work, or care for their friends. There are a lot of people that suffer from a lot of mental health issues because they are not able to do anything, or they're not able to do anything about their situation. You know, a lot of people that can't retain information. But then there's also a lot of people that just don't take care of their body either. They know that they have things that they should and should not be doing, and they're just having a grand old time and deal with the consequences later. Sometimes, like I said before, like I occasionally drink. I go out and have fun with my friends, but I also know that I need to remain hydrated. I also know when to say no. Like, no, this is it. I reached my limit. I need to recruit. Like, I can't just keep going. And that's a big part too. Knowing your limitations. Once you're real with yourself about what you can and cannot do, then everything else, will be smooth sailing. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, just comment below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe. You never know who this information might benefit. And if you just need to talk or know somebody who needs to talk, or struggling with a partner who may have had it, it's not the end of the world. Hit me up in my comments and I'll help you out to the best of my abilities. All right, thank you.